Norman Powell had a big showing in Miami's second preseason game. Will that be the norm moving forward? Plus, we'll talk about Kel'el Ware, Nikola Jovic, and Miami's retooled offense in today's Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. Recording this on Monday night after the Heat's second preseason game against the Bucks. They lose the game. Whatever, nobody cares. They're 0-2 in the preseason. Again, nobody cares. What we're really talking about, Nikola Jovic. We're going to talk about Kel'el Ware in a second and some other observations that we had from this game. But we have to start, David, I think, with Norm Powell. And not sure how I feel about you using puns, but he is the new guy on the Heat. I hope that doesn't become a regular thing. You see how I avoided it pretty easily there. But he has 18 points in 16 minutes. I thought he looked great. More than that, I think I saw why he'll help push Miami's new up-tempo offense. The thing that stuck out to me with Powell was just how quickly he gets his feet set, kind of gets his body turned to the basket. Super quick, high release point. So a lot of these threes coming early in the shot clock, guys closing out on him, doesn't matter. He gets that shot up really quickly. Not just the three-point shooting either. This is a guy who gets downhill in transition. He's got a lot of north-south speed, right? He's got strength, too, that kind of helps him barrel, again, get downhill and get to the basket. You're seeing the vision, right? You're seeing the vision with this roster, and I think we've spent a lot of time talking about how this up-tempo style really suits the youth and some of the athleticism on this Heat roster, but it also, I think, very much suits the new guy, Norm Powell.
Yeah, there were a number of possessions there where they were trying to get that pace going, and the ball would be in his hands for maybe a second. It didn't take him very long at all for him to just lean into that shot and let it fly at the top of his release. And he's not particularly tall or anything like that. But again, to your point, he's athletic enough where he can get that high vert on his leap, and he's releasing at the top of that, at the peak of his release. And it's a nice form, and yet he springs into it so quickly. And there were a couple of possessions there where you go, no, okay, I didn't think he could hit that.
Yeah,
especially as quick as he lets it go, and it just benefits Miami because he's not shy about taking that shot, and you could tell he starts getting into that comfortable rhythm. Hits a little baseline jumper, a real quick catch and shoot from the perimeter. Another time where I think he brought it up just ever so quickly, couple steps, and lets it fly. No hesitation whatsoever. And so there's not a lot of ball stopping there. And I think it works for Miami because this is what they need now. If only the rebounding numbers could back that up. Tonight they did, and they were able to get some second chance opportunities. So that was a solid overall showing for them. But as far as Norm is concerned, yeah, I like where the offense can go with him as part of it. And you only hope that once maybe the backcourt gets a little healthier and once Tyler's available on the court, that he'll get even better and much more comfortable within the flow of the offense.
18 points on 6 of 12 shooting, 3 of 6 from three-point range, got to the line 3 times, made those 3 free throws, had 2 rebounds, had an assist in this game. One of the things that we talked about coming off of that first preseason game was how, despite the fact that the Heat had next to none of their guards, right? We know Tyler Hero's out, Terry Rozier's out. Davion Mitchell also didn't play in this game. Kasparas Yakachonis didn't play in this game. Pelle Larsson did not play in this game. So all the guards that were out in the first preseason game were also out in this one. And despite that, they're not putting the rock in Powell's hands. They're not asking him as basically the lone guard as part of that starting lineup that essentially, I guess, has Jaime Akash Jr. as the shooting guard in it. They're not asking Powell to run the offense. They didn't ask him to do it in the first game. They didn't ask him to do it in this one either. He looks very much like a complementary piece, a second side guy. I think he's very good at that. He's been very good at that throughout his career. It's not new for him, but you hear Powell start talking on media day about how, what it might look like to be a featured guy with Tyler Hero out and things like that. That doesn't seem to be what Spo's plan is with Powell. I think they kind of just want to work him as this complementary type of piece, a guy who gets passes thrown toward him as opposed to the guy that's facilitating the offense. But if it looks like this, I think that's going to be fine.
Absolutely. And it's not like he's not going to have playmaking opportunities. He can do enough with the ball. And like you said earlier, he can put the ball down. He can attack north-south. He's able to get down towards the rim and be able to spray it out to those wide open shooters from beyond the perimeter. So he works his way into the offense pretty cleanly so far. And I don't have a problem with him being necessarily not the lead ball handler or anything like that. And it feels like it's going to be that way throughout the whole season, even once Tyler does come back, even once Davion Mitchell is available, because there are enough versatile ball handlers, playmakers, without having to make the offense kind of heliocentric in the term
Right.
of a primary ball handler or shot creator or something like that. So you have multiple versatile players that can make plays for others and look to create to themselves. And I think they're going to continue to develop that chemistry once the season progresses, and especially throughout the preseason. I think there are concerns going into the start of the season, going that on the road and facing some tough teams on that opening, few weeks or whatever of the season. And yet it's a good way of being tested by the fire, making sure that you kind of develop that chemistry on the go, and it'll continue to get better down the road. I think you'll reap the benefits of that as the season progresses.
So I think the other thing that we saw from Miami's offense outside of Norm Powell sort of having his moment there in the second quarter, because Miami, they start their starting lineup, right? Spo's been doing these hockey-style substitutions where the whole starters come out and this whole bench unit comes in. The bench just completely bleeps the bed and just gives up whatever sort of momentum Miami had. The Bucks go up by 10-something points or whatever, something like that. And then the starters come back in with about 8.5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Norm Powell just goes off. The Heat go on a run and get back into the game, and they end up trailing at halftime by very little. And that was very much Powell kind of making shots and making that happen. But the other thing that really stood out to me was the fact that the pace was still there with the Heat's offense, I thought, in a big way. They weren't playing as fast as they were against the Orlando Magic in the preseason opener, but as we discussed, nobody played that fast. Like, that would have been the number one pace in the league by a mile last year in the regular season. But I thought they still played with tempo, with pace in this game, and that's what you want to see, right? You want to see that kind of commitment to that style of play.
A number of possessions where they're just looking ahead. There was one particular possession. I know everybody will remember that who watched the game. Was it Jaime Jaquez collecting a rebound, quick pass to Norm Powell, who takes one dribble, and then is able to just get himself in a position where he tosses a perfect lob to Andrew Wiggins, who just slams it through. And the defense hadn't had an opportunity to set up. It was just two passes and one dribble. And that's the kind of offense that you can hope to see more often throughout the season, because it really is electric. It doesn't allow the defense to get settled in, and it maximizes what this team is capable of. And it was I really enjoyed that. I think there were a lot of possessions that were kind of similar to that, where they're just like bang, bang, get that rebound, initiate the offense, just go into those fast break opportunities, try to create something very quick before Milwaukee could kind of collect themselves. And I think this is just the norm. This will be the norm moving forward.
Well, I think you're right, and it is the thing that they're practicing, right, in training camp is, during these scrimmages, they have been leaning more offense in training camp than this Heat team has in the past, right? A Heat team that is all about defense and through the mud and culture and blah, blah, blah. There's been more of an emphasis talking to players on offense than maybe there has been in a very long time for a Heat training camp. And one of the things that they're doing in training camp is doing like that old school thing, David, of, hey, we're going to play offense without dribbling. So it's move, cut, it's ultimate Frisbee style, right? It's move and cut, no dribbling. That's what it's going to be. Very old school type of drill. I'm talking like people that have played basketball, like middle school, like that's what that is. And I love that they're doing it. And to your point with that tic-tac-toe little thing to the lob to Wiggins, That's exactly
Yeah.
what that is. No dribbles, ball moves through the air, off ball movement, cutting, get to the basket, make things happen that way. And it's nice to see it happen in training camp and then happen in practice in a preseason game. Kel'el Ware was Miami's best player in the second half. We'll talk about what we saw from him and what it means going forward after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss because right now, new customers can bet just $5 and you get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You'll love how FanDuel gives you so many different ways to play. You can build parlays, you can try player props, and you can even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Was watching the Dolphins game at a local bar and saw everybody getting involved in the process, and you could just see the excitement. It's just like they're going from game to game on the big screens. They're trying to see all the different action because they know they've got a little something extra riding on the outcome there. It's not just about watching your team win. It's about helping you to win too. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Let's talk about Kel'el Ware. He finished with 18 points, 13 rebounds, did that all in 23 minutes. Scored 14 of those points in the fourth quarter, made a couple of three-pointers in the game. Interesting game for Kel'el, I thought, David. Didn't make much of an impact for the first three quarters. Now, that's not entirely his fault. Wasn't part of the starting lineup. Played a couple of minutes during that tough stretch that, like we talked about in the first segment, that second line came in, ended up digging a hole there. I don't think that was on Kel'el. I think that was mostly on just guys that aren't going to be on the team playing a lot of minutes against a Bucks team that was still sort of playing most of their rotation guys at that point. But doesn't start the second half. I thought that was an interesting decision by Eric Spoelstra. I wasn't really sure what it meant. If it means anything, I don't know if that it does. But Spo yanks three of the starters, no Wiggins, no Powell, and no Bam to start the second half. They didn't play at all in the second half. But instead of playing Kel'el in Bam's spot at center, Spo opted to start Precious Achiuwa in the second half. So I was wondering, man, maybe Kel'el's night is done too. It wasn't. Kel'el checked in later, ends up playing most of the fourth quarter, maybe all of the fourth quarter, and then scores 14 of those points. So you want to see it. It's good. He has a double-double in this game and not a lot of minutes. So the production is there. But at the same time, he was doing most of that work in the fourth quarter against a guy named Pete Nance, who I'd never heard of. So what do you make of it? Is it fool's gold? Is it just, hey, production is production and preseason doesn't really matter? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that last aspect there. I think still being able to put up the points matters, even if it's against inferior competition. And I think it's also an opportunity for him to get more comfortable and remember how impactful he can be, because I think that's still part of the problem is that he just, I'm not saying that he lacks the motivation, but he doesn't always seem to be fully engaged and out there to the point where he should be a little bit more dominant in his actions and a little bit more intentional in what he does out there in the court, because I think he does have all the talent to be able to really be a productive player, and yet there are just moments there where he's not quite as engaged as you'd like him to be, and I think that's part of the problem. And so maybe the fact that he goes and produces this much on a night like today, again, albeit against second string players, it's still a good opportunity for him to remember, you know what, I'm capable of this. I know what to do, and kind of take that experience and just build it into the next game too. I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but I do also, I'm looking to him for him to be able to just say, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm going to be more aggressive. I'm going to do what I have to do. And I don't know that he's just there yet. I don't see that level of regression from him. And maybe it's just the fact that he's a big, somebody who just kind of sprouted as a teenager and isn't really just aggressive by nature, because you see those moments and there are flashes there where he can be using all of his physical tools. But again, there's something that's missing in terms of the kind of aggressive component that you'd like to see from him, because that's when he'll really be able to maximize all the physical gifts that he has.
I think that's fair. I did like the process with him in that fourth quarter. It did seem like he was constantly trying to get possession for offensive rebounds, consistently looking to make his presence felt at the basket. Did he settle for a couple of shots that I didn't love? Did the bad LaMarcus Aldridge impression that I talked about when we were scouting him? Yeah, he did. But I can live with that. I can live with that if you're giving me 13 rebounds, if you've got 3 offensive rebounds, if you're doing that kind of thing. And I think I saw that more often than I didn't down the stretch in his minutes. And that to me is a win. You also think about the rebounding concerns that this team had in the first preseason game. Not as much of an issue in the they won the rebound battle in this one.
Yeah.
I think I have this right. 22 rebounds in 40 preseason minutes for Kel'el. Like, the rebounding is there. And no matter what we say about Kel'el, and I think the criticisms are totally fair. I think the criticisms are absolutely fair. I mean, don't take it from us. Take it from Spo, who is his head coach, saying these things in public, okay?
Right.
That said, I mean, this guy, it's what we saw down the stretch of last season, David. He kind of just rolls out of bed and gets a double-double. And that's just sort of the thing with him, right? I look up and it's like he's got 12 points and 10 rebounds halfway through the fourth quarter. I'm just like, here we go again with Kel'el, man. Like, no matter what you want to, again, criticism is fair, but at the end of the day, that production is there, and that really matters. And that's what's so exciting about this guy, is when he does put it all together, the things that you were just talking about, David, when the game slows down, when he's able to really focus and add that aggressiveness to his game and kind of make all these things click into place.
Yeah.
This is why they think so highly of him, because the sky really is a limit for this guy.
He does make it look easy at times.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of want to see him be a little bit more like he's working harder to be this productive, because then it's just, you see the production and the effort might not necessarily be at that same level or commensurate to what we see or what we expect from what he's able to produce. And yet, that's just, again, I think that could be part of the frustration, is that if you were just a little bit more aggressive, you'd see him be an incredible player, much more impactful. So I don't know. Like, I think for now, it's enough, but you do hope that he can reach another level. And I think that's where the coaches are as well. They just want him to be able to reach his full potential. And I think that takes a little bit of work from him in order to get there.
Still didn't see any minutes with Kel'el with Bam. Yeah, still we haven't seen that for a single possession. I'm still going to chalk that up to the fact that Spo is basically doing these hockey style substitutions.
Yeah.
That it's still a little strange. You would like, maybe he saw enough of it last year where he's like, I don't need to see it in the preseason. We know it works. But Eric Spoelstra did say before the game that he was going to go with the same starting lineup, the same guys that were out in the first preseason game, the same guys that are out in this one. Was asked about the starting lineup and basically says, I didn't change it because I didn't feel like changing it. Now, you and I know that that's not true. That's not how Eric Spoelstra operates. He doesn't make decisions based on how he feels, right? He's very intentional about these things. But he wanted to give it another look, and I thought it looked fine, right? I don't feel any much different after the first preseason game than I do after this one. I think the starting lineup has some concerns, but I think overall it's probably the best way to go, considering who's out right now and who's injured. So, but I still think at some point, Spo did leave it open. Maybe I could change it, but I still think at some point in this preseason, whether it's the starting lineup or not, we've got to see Bam and Ware together with some of these newer pieces and the new offense that they're trying to install.
Did Precious share the floor with Ware? No, he didn't.
I didn't
So
notice
I think that's a very deliberate choice by Eric Spoelstra, as he wants to put him out there as a lone big, which could lead to some of those inflated rebounding numbers too. But he also was, as a legitimate 7-footer, somebody who's towering over everybody else. So I wonder exactly what might be just a matter of surrounding him with enough versatility where you don't clunk things up, make him look too bogged down by putting him out there with another big. So I wonder if we'll see. But we saw it so often last year, and the way they spoke about it last season, and there were moments there where the pairing absolutely did work. You would think that they would be much more likely to roll it out at some point, but I don't know. It feels kind of odd that they haven't done it at any point over the first 2 games of the preseason.
Yeah. It's just, for a minute, right? You don't have to do this whole hockey style substitution. Again, that's what I chalk it up mostly to, is just the substitution pattern, but
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see it at some point. Kel'el Ware also had that steal to a score where he kind of was running out of bounds and flipped it over his head, and it ended up going in. So he got the circus shot. I thought we should at least mention that. That was just really cool.
Yeah.
Not sure we're going to get used to that, but that was a cool little preseason moment there. Another strong performance by Nikola Jovic, and the Heat quickly addressed a big issue that we called out from the first preseason game. We'll talk about those in our notebook dump after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. We'll be right back.
So, notebook dump, some other observations from this game. Drew Smith taking a charge 9 months after tearing his Achilles in this game. If you wonder why the guy's on the roster, that's why the guy's on the roster. He just uses his body. Let's not go overboard, Drew. Let's stay healthy. Let's finish a season here, Drew. But you love to see that from Drew Smith. Also thought, David, that Kashad Johnson is really starting to put things together. We don't need to do a big deep dive on Kashad right now, but I thought he just looked really comfortable in these first 2 preseason games. And you listen to Eric Spoelstra talk about him, how he's starting to Spo's maybe new favorite Spoism is connect the dots. We hear him use that term a lot when it comes to guys who are really athletic or young, kind of taking their talents and making their talents match the production or the impact on winning and whatever it is. You're starting to see that come along for Kashad. So let's maybe keep an eye on him for maybe a longer segment going forward. We mentioned the rebounding battle. They got crushed on the boards against Orlando. Spo said that they were going to address it. They did. They won the rebounding battle in this one, 70-50. They had 10 offensive rebounds in this game compared to just 3 for Milwaukee. So you like to see that. No Giannis. I can't believe we're this far into it without mentioning. Giannis didn't play for the Bucks, which is the biggest reason perhaps the rebounding battle that was this. But again, I don't expect Giannis in preseason minutes to make up 20 rebounds. You know what I mean? So in a regular season, for sure, he could definitely do that, but not in the preseason. So you like to see that the rebounding thing was addressed there. But let's talk about Nikola Jovic.
I was just thinking, which of the matchups now that Milwaukee has Giannis and Miles Turner, which matchup is Bam going to take more personally? Like, is he going to really between Giannis, a guy who's done a very good job of defending over the years, and a guy like Turner that he just clearly dislikes? I wonder. That's a tough challenge for Bam having to handle both. So you know that there's going to be a need.
I was thinking about that in the beginning of this game. Had Giannis played, if this was a regular season game, does Miami go big with Kel'el? They would have gotten crushed in the front court if Giannis was playing. But maybe you just chalk that up to Giannis. Like, you're going to get crushed no matter what if Giannis is playing. It doesn't really matter who you are. To answer your question, I still think Bam probably takes the Giannis assignment a little bit more personally just because of where his standing is in the league.
Yeah, but Nico trying to pick up Turner would be an interesting matchup there. I don't know. Turner,
Nico could do it. Turner's not exactly a physical center despite his size. He's a little bit more of a finesse guy.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not overt physically, but still a little, I would say, tougher perhaps than Nico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Nico. I thought it was another fantastic game for him. 9 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 0 turnovers, 2 steals in 23 minutes. I I know I said this after the first game, but I think it bears repeating after the second one. Miami wants to play faster. Nobody looks more comfortable in it than Nikola Jovic. I won't go so far as to say he was Miami's best player the way that he was Miami's best player in the first preseason game. But man, I still think we're in for a breakout season. If this is what the offense is going to be, it suits Nico so well. And I think just from a systematic standpoint, I think we might not see a bigger leap from anybody from last year to this year than we see from Nico, just based on what the system is.
Absolutely. I think he's tailor-made for this. Just that his approach, his mentality, his skill set, all of it is a perfect fit for this kind of idea of just pushing the pace up. And we saw that from him even as a rookie. Like that was one of the things that he was able to do really effectively, was just he grabs that, snatches that rebound, and he's off to the races. And it was something that nobody else on the roster was. I mean, with some moments here from Bam, maybe Tyler, nobody else was really letting it just kind of initiating those actions so quickly. So you saw that from Nico, and you knew that he was going to be able to do that, but he's just gotten better and better at it. So this is a great fit for him to be able to finally be able to bring that side of his game too. So I'm a little concerned about the defense, though. I'll be honest with you. Like, I think there were moments there where he was okay, but there are just some moments also where he's a little bit lost. As much as he brings offensively, the defensive concerns are still warranted. And while I think we saw moments there where the increased physicality and strength and everything else are going to certainly benefit, there's still moments where he's lost in space a little bit and not quite able to pick up, or maybe not make the right switch, especially with so much new personnel on the roster too. And I didn't hear a lot of guys being vocal out there. Maybe maybe that was just an observation that I made, but I just think that there's not a lot of communication defensively. That's the same level that you'd want it to. And I wonder if a guy like Davion could help kind of unleash that part of their game a little bit.
Feels like they're missing Davion a lot on that end. But back to Nico there, I agree with you. In the opening sequence for Milwaukee, Kyle Kuzma just took it to Nico in transition, and Nico folded like an umbrella. And he just can't do that, man. Like you gotta provide a little bit more of a fight. Now, he did, I think, had better moments as the game went on, especially against Kyle Kuzma, who was very bad. That was like, I mentioned that one play by Kuzma, and that was like the best thing he did the entire night from Milwaukee. But other than that, didn't do very much. And I thought Nico held his own in terms of the one-on-one stuff, which was really where my main concern is. Kuzma tried to attack him a couple different times, realized it wasn't going to work after that opening action. And then they kind of got away from it, and I think rightly so. But getting to Nico's physicality, he threw a shoulder into Amir Coffey for a transition finish. I love to see that. And then maybe my favorite play from the night from Nico was kind of hit Bobby Portis with the footwork, with the post moves. Right? I mean, he looked like Nikola Jovic on that play. Kind of had the ball on the right side of the basket, hit him with a little footwork, a little jab step, 1-2, and boom, got it over Bobby Portis with the right hook.
Yeah,
like, I'm here for all that stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime you can embarrass Bobby Portis, I'm all for it. Look, I did want to bring up something else. We have talked about the pace, and there were a lot of possessions there where they were trying to get things quickly done, but you look at the final box score, and maybe it didn't feel that way over the course of the game. And again, it's just preseason; it's hard to kind of parse anything out, but still not translating into a higher number of field goal attempts, and certainly not even higher field goal attempts from 3-point range, which is really where you want to see. We talked about this all summer long. For this team to get to where they need to go, do you need to let it fly? They need to put up Celtic-like number of 3-point shots, and it ties kind of into the increased pace that we have seen from them. But they only put up 28 3-point attempts, 85 field goal attempts in total. That's not going to get it done. This team needs to be able to create a little bit more offensively. And in that sense, you kind of like what Norman was able to do, because no hesitation, very quick on letting it fly. But everybody else still kind of a little bit more conditioned, I think, to hold on the ball, maybe try to see whether or not they can find a seam of the defense, or just find the better shot, perhaps. But sometimes you kind of just need to let it go. And I don't know that the team is quite there yet.
28 3-point attempts tonight, only 29 in the first preseason game, right? So they haven't even hit 30. and we're talking about them trying to push
Yeah, be close to
40,
40.
maybe 50, right? Like
Absolutely,
that's what we're talking about this roster needs to do. Now, some of that is the fact that the starters aren't playing a ton of minutes. There's no guards, like a bunch of the guys who are going to take threes are out. Like Davion Mitchell
Right.
isn't known as a three-point shooter, but he's going to take them, right? Jaime Jaquez Jr. is not a three-point shooter. He took one in this game. I think he might have taken one or two against Orlando. Wiggins wasn't taking a ton of them. He only took 3 in 16 minutes. It was a little bit of a disappearing Wiggins night after a really strong preseason debut.
I thought he
Bam
looked
is not
good early
taking
on.
threes at the center spot, right? I think that's a big thing when you're talking about playing Bam at the 5 again. It's just it kind of erases his ability to stretch the floor a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a little worrisome. I don't know how much to make of it considering all the injuries that they're dealing with. And the fact that the starters are playing so few minutes, and it's just a lot of guys who are frankly not going to be on the roster playing a lot of minutes in these second halves.
That's a factor. Yeah,
So
we need to see if the team is at least closer to full strength.
Yeah,
whether we can see exactly how the pieces start to mesh. But yeah, it's something to monitor.
Yep.
But at this point, we're not setting off the alarms just yet.
Last thing here, and it's part of the not getting the field goal attempts up. 23 turnovers will reduce your possessions, and that's what Miami had in this one. And that is maybe the biggest flag that I have coming out of this game is the turnover issue. Too many times, they turned it over twice, I think, in the first half. Just being confused about who's supposed to bring the ball up. They're moving too fast.
So weird.
Somebody was it Trevor Keels just threw it behind Kel'el Ware for no reason. There was another instance there where they just lost
Bam
the ball, bringing the ball up.
Bam threw it at Nico. Bam threw it at Nico, and like it bounced off his shoulder. And it's like Nico thought, well, I thought you were pushing the ball up. This is kind of, I think, a byproduct of that increased pace. It's
100%.
Bam got the rebound. Just go.
Right.
Instead, he's looking to get it to Nico. So
These
Nico had
short
turned around.
little quick hit-ahead passes that don't make a ton of sense. And maybe it goes back to what they're learning in training camp of we're not supposed to be dribbling it. We're supposed to just throw it ahead and do it this way. It's like, well, maybe you could dribble it just to bring the ball up. I don't know. Whatever it is, I think it's easy enough to iron it out where I'm not raising red flags. I'm not sounding the alarms at 23 turnovers. But it's something that it's part of the growing pains, I think, of this new up-tempo offense.
Absolutely.
All right, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. For your second listen, go find Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.